Hello, Brett Gallant, SierraWest Scale Models. Welcome to Craftsman Kit University, Weathering Resin Castings Part 1, Preparation. We've got a nice sturdy stick we're going to use to hold the castings in place while we weather them. That's very important. And in order to hold them in place firmly, we've got some double-sided duct tape, which you can purchase at a hardware store or online at places like Amazon.com. Got an open roll here we're going to use. You want to lay your sticks out so that they're about the same width as the roll of tape so you don't waste the tape. And then go ahead and lay the tape directly on top of the sticks. We're going to turn it over and trim the excess off. It's also important to have really clean, bright white lights, like the LED lighting. I also use magnifying glasses so that I can see details close up. Now let's go ahead and cut the tape to separate the sticks back out into 3 individual pieces. This is going to give us a lot of room to hold our castings in place. I'm going to grab some O-scale oil drums. Scale really makes no difference in this technique. The very first thing you want to do now is peel the backing up off the tape, and we're going to stick the castings onto the stick. With large castings like these O-scale castings, I want to space them out enough so that when I spray paint them black in the next step, it's easy to get between the castings and get all sides of the oil drum or the crate or whatever it is we're painting. On smaller scales, for example, I've got some prepped here ahead of time. I've got some HO scale oil drums and crates. It's important that you stagger them back and forth. You can see how it makes a zigzag pattern down the face of the stick that'll allow me to get into the crevices between each casting. And you can see on the crates I've actually angled them. These have also been separated out by type. I've got castings that are going to be metal and castings that are going to be wood on different sticks. But no matter what, they're all spray painted black ahead of time. That's the first step. I use a good quality spray paint. This inexpensive spray paint that you can pick up at the hardware store leaves a little bit of a sheen. There are several companies that make a line of high quality, flat, camouflage paint, and that's the paint I prefer. Our first step is to paint all of the castings with the flat black spray paint. And as we discussed, you can see here I have them separated out by type. This has been allowed to dry at least overnight. That's very important that it's nice and dry. In our next step, we're going to take a small pin vise, drill a hole in the bottom of the oil drums, the barrels, and the acetylene tanks, and insert a toothpick in. That way we can hold each casting as we paint them and create a really nice effect that's different from casting to casting. Treat each one separately. Now you can prepare all the castings that come in the kit at one sitting, or you can spread this out over time. Gives you a really nice way to keep track of which castings you have available and what you're going to use for a particular scene. So we drill our hole, we snip the end of the toothpick off with a pair of rail cutters, and then if you like, you can dip the end of the toothpick in a drop of super glue before inserting it in the hole. This will help hold it in place better. It's a good idea on O-scale castings. It may not be necessary with HO scale castings. I weather my castings based upon the scene that they're going to be used in on the diorama. So what's nice about having all these pieces individually inserted on toothpicks is I can sort them out ahead of time and plan what paint effect or what color I'm going to finish them off with so they coordinate well with the scene. In part 2, I will demonstrate the peeling and chipped paint effects that I used on the oil drums and the acetylene tanks in the HO scale O'Neill's fabrication pilot model. When it comes time to weather the crates, I will leave those on the original stick because that's a very simple process. There's no reason to pull those off and insert toothpicks, isolating each one like we did the oil tanks and the acetylene tanks. Let's move on to part 2, where we'll be looking at the different techniques for creating peeling and chipped paint.